hospitality sector. Let's look at arts and entertainment. Remember that painting from India that we talked about? Art's important. All right, so latest GDP figures for Nigeria. What did we do Q1? 3.13%, I believe, year on year. Nominal GDP growth for the arts, entertainment, and recreation center, 1.32%. Now, of course, the difference between nominal and real is you adjust for inflation. Q1 nominal contribution, 0.58%. Real GDP contribution was 9.6. That's as far as growth is concerned. The contribution is 0.47, so pretty small. Also, looking at the tourism, I think PAC Research has a new report out where they basically forecast that the contribution from tourism could hit 11.2 trillion in 2025. The forecasting was 10.9. It's about, I think, about $7 billion or so. Also for hotels, they're forecasting that hotel revenues could hit about $1 billion in 2025, and that's for hotels within Nigeria. Although we got to get into where they're located because Lagos and Abuja are pretty much dominating. So yeah, so the hotels revenue, $1 billion forecast there. All right. Adegbe Ogbeh, managing partner, Lounge One, joins us from our Abuja studios to talk about hospitalities further. Adegbe, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. So, as far as the contribution of arts, entertainment, and recreation, hospitality sector is couched in there, the recreation side. I mean, the contribution is pretty small. What do you think needs to be done to boost that figure?
Not a lot in the short term. It's going to be time-based. There's not a lot that can be done because the sector has contracted badly. Disposable income is simply not there. There's nothing you can do about that. On the other side, I think that the sector is going to have to find alternative means to power itself. And by power, I mean electricity. So in the short term, no, we just have to wait it out. Slightly longer term, I do believe that if we find alternatives to power between diesel, electricity, solar, inverters, and the like, then those are the things we can do to help ourselves out of the slump.
What about tourism? I mean, they're forecasting that tourism can contribute as much as 11.2 trillion this year. What do you make of that figure? And do you think that can grow?
I mean, one thing that social media has definitely done for Nigeria and, the less traveled countries, if you call us that, is that people are more aware of what we have to offer. So yes, the forecast is possible. We have Christmas coming up. We have currency that is somewhat devalued now. It's stable, but the numbers are very possible. It's between hotels, taxis, food and beverage, nightlife, entertainment, concerts. Yes, it's very possible. We will come back to have a look, of course, in Q1 2026. But it's very possible. I don't see why it's not achievable. It may not have gone up in USD terms, but in Naira terms, you will certainly see a jump from last year to this year.
All right, so, I mean, they're also forecasting that hotel revenues could reach $1 billion. I want to get into the hotel side of things with you with respect to the states that dominate hotel presence in Nigeria. What do you make of this forecast? You think you can hit that number? And then let's get into the states. Let's disaggregate this further.
Okay, so if you're looking at the hotels, right? So if you look at tourism, the figure you're looking at, 1 billion, is part of the tourism forecast, right? So do you separate one from the other? You can't. And you're correct. Abuja and Lagos are dominant. There's no running away from that. But if you look at a place like Ibadan, somewhere around 500 hotels, Kano, somewhere around 250 hotels, Owerri, somewhere around 200 hotels. So it's not that the lag is so terrible. You have great hotel culture in Calabar, for instance. It's not so far behind, but you're correct. The dominance is definitely in Abuja and Lagos, just because the seat of government, and of course, Lagos remains our commercial capital. So you're right. We will always have that disparity. However, I do believe that we are missing out on things like motels. We don't use the phrase in Nigeria very much, but you have much smaller offerings of accommodation, not even Airbnb, just small converted homes. There's no sign. They cater to accommodation in a gray area that we don't often speak about and perhaps are not measuring. So $1 billion, 1.6 trillion naira, yes, why not? I don't see it as some terrible figure that can be achieved. It's right there. We are probably still short of hotel rooms of a certain standard in Lagos already. So, you know, the market will tell us at the end of the period again if it is true or not.
So, you know, I'm wondering about the need to develop an ecosystem around these hotels in these other states. If you come to Lagos and the people who come in here will say, let's go check out the Nike Art Gallery. I was corrected about the pronunciation. Or the Legacy Beach. For Abuja, you can go hiking. They've got resorts and so on. So, you know, what in order to, I mean, a hotel just can't be a hotel just to stand there. You got to have corporations coming in for, you know, meetings, and an ecosystem around there. Are the other states able to build those ecosystems up in order to compete with the Lagos and Abuja?
So as a whole, hospitality is driven by the private sector. You have the basic infrastructure, which is roads, power, and whatnot to help the hotel stand. But you also have a social side, a social infrastructure, which is weddings and events and galas and launchings. And all these things occur to keep the hotel industry going outside of the two key cities you mentioned. So whilst there might not be a massive event center or a massive conference center or specific tourism locations and destinations, you've got a social infrastructure that keeps these hotels quite busy, especially at the weekend. We have a strong, very strong hotel culture in Owerri, for instance, and even in Kano. It may not be busy the entire week, but at the weekend, they're there for you. And the hotels are full. And oftentimes, you will find that they are short of hotel rooms, which is interesting, but it happens as well.
Now, how have you as a player in the sector navigated your business around, you're talking about electricity earlier, I guess, but starting with fuel subsidy removal, I guess liberation of the exchange rate. How was that navigation, you know, what was that like for you in the sector?
I mean, so everyone's taken a big knock. There's simply no way to do things the old way. It's just not possible. Power costs are impossible. Between diesel and electricity, you are struggling. There's nothing else to admit but that. So what we found in the sector is people are cutting down on two sides, unfortunately, one of which is personnel. We simply can't keep the amount of personnel we had before. Secondly, we're cutting down on time open. This at
All right, we unfortunately lost Adegbe Ogbeh there. He's managing director at Lounge One, and he was just telling us about the cost of electricity for players in the hospitality sector. So I think we're going to reconnect with him any moment now. Yeah, okay, we should have him back any moment. Just a little bit of a connect. We should talk about internet connectivity in Nigeria too for hotels. Trying to get Wi-Fi. In fact, that's what I'm going to ask him right now. when we get him back. All right, we got him back. See, we should add internet. Let's talk about, you were talking about power and electricity. Let's talk about internet because we just lost you for a moment there. So keep going. Sorry about that. Keep going. Keep going.
No problem at all. So I think the two cost-saving areas have been opening days and opening times. That's the first direct response to what's happened between the Forex devaluation and, of course, the cost of power between Band A and generators. So I think the approach may be, especially for hotels, a tiered power system. So if a hotel has 20 rooms, they may tell you one side of the hotel functions when we're at low occupancy and the other side doesn't function. We simply will not power the other side unless we're full. For restaurants, horeca, which is a Dutch phrase, hotels, restaurants, cafes, cafeteria, you will find that opening times will reduce. It's one of the ways to adjust very quickly in the short term. But like I said, the market will recover sometime end of the year, first quarter of next year. And I think that's when some normalcy will return. But for now, we have to manage time. And unfortunately, we have to manage staff. There's nothing else to do for it.
Well, you already preempted my next question. You've talked about it, I think, twice now. So the largest input cost to the sector is electricity. I just wonder how they do. Whenever I drive past hotels in the middle of the day or a restaurant, they got to be open throughout and lights are on. So it's electricity, right? That's the number one input cost.
Absolutely. It's electricity. Not far off is rent. People often underestimate rent, especially in the big cities. Rent can be frightening. If you want to cater to the 5%, in quote, you have to be in the right locations. And the right locations, they're not free of inflation. They will transfer the cost to you. You're going to pay much more rent, not 100%, sometimes 200% increase in rent. So power is a big problem. But like I said before, you are looking at maybe Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, a business is closed. They're willing to forfeit the opening times for a more efficient period of being open. They're willing to do that. So from what we see now, that's the immediate adjustment. Perhaps if there are better power solutions to help us with air conditioning, then maybe we can come back to that later.
All right. I mean, look, we're showing some really nice drone shots of the mountains in Abuja and the other tourist attractions in Nigeria. What is your outlook for the hospitality sector as we head towards the end of 2025?
I think it'll be a sigh of relief. People have really gone through it. Between your basic needs, food, transportation, and accommodation, people are forced to make really horrible choices. However, the perverse or converse side of that is that at some point they will be too tired and will say, in our typical Nigerian parlance, I can't come and kill myself. I can't solve all my problems. So I'm going to go out for a day or two. I'm going to pretend I don't have these problems. And the hospitality sector always benefits from that. People need relief. People need escape, which is at the heart of hospitality. So you will find some recovery towards December as Christmas comes around, as we begin to see the effects of government budgets trickling down, if you want to call it that. You're going to have some relief. There's definitely potential. Also, people coming back home, they bring scarce resources with them. So you're going to see that as well in action. And then, of course, we go back into January where there's a slowdown again. So I think we'll have some recovery. By November, December, you're going to have people, as we say, being outside a little bit more as escape and as relief, not necessarily because they can afford it, but there's only so much pressure you can put human beings under. They will require escape at some point.
Makes total sense. Adegbe Ogbeh, Managing Partner at Lounge One, thank you so much for talking to us about the hospitality sector. Really appreciate your insights. Joining us there live from our Abuja studio.